Good afternoon. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Joshua. I'm going to be your presenter today. My audio indicates that it's coming through loud and clear. I hope everyone can hear me okay. It's promptly 12:30. We're going to go ahead and get started on our webinar topic here. Just a couple of technical things again before we get started. Click the little red or orange arrow on the sidebar of your webinar control panel to get that minimized. If you're using a single monitor setup, drag it off to your second desktop just to get it out of the way if you're using a dual monitor setup. Allows you to get the full visual effect of the presentation today, albeit I'm going to kind of preface this initially by saying there's not going to be a whole lot to see today. It's going to be a lot of listening to me talk about some things with regards to the loan forgiveness, at least as far as things that we are aware of and know right now with regards to this. Hence why you're looking at the homepage on our website right now. But before we get started on that, if you've got questions, please type those into the questions portion of the webinar control panel. We have folks answering questions and responding to your questions in that today. If there's anything that's unanswered when we get to the end of the event, I'll do my best to answer those. Please keep the questions on topic. We've had some other webinars that we've recorded and have out on the COVID-19 page on our website from the past events that we've had on this. We've got the webinar coming up this coming Thursday on the new 941 that we'll discuss that. So again, if you have questions about that, please hold off and maybe ask those questions during that event if you can join us for that. I will do my best to wrap things up at 30 minutes after the hour, maybe less. We'll see how long this goes today. We're certainly not going to cut folks off. We'll do our best to get questions answered as best we can. And of course, if something does occur to you after the webinar has concluded, you can certainly give us a call at 800-533-5227. Our technicians, myself included, will certainly do our best to get those questions answered for you. All right, so we do have two handouts that are attached to the webinar event today. I'm going to open those here in just a minute from the links that we've got on the website with regards to the couple of the new loan forgiveness forms. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and click on the COVID-19 resources right here. Let me get out my highlighter and show folks what I'm talking about. Right here on our website, we've got this link right here on the banner. Hopefully everybody can see that. Let me draw an arrow to it right there. Updated regularly COVID-19 resources for church windows. This is the page on our website that we have dedicated to updated information for COVID-19 based on legislation that is being updated and changed on a daily, weekly basis as it occurs, okay? So when we click on that, it opens up the actual COVID-19 resources page for church windows. We scroll down here. This is where we see tracking COVID-19, other helpful documents, helpful links, and the other videos that we have of the previous webinar events that we've conducted on all things COVID-19, at least with regards to church windows and payroll and qualifying expenses, documentation, what have you, okay? The new documentation, and I believe we've even still got some more to put out here, is our PPP loan forgiveness application 33508EZ, and I'm going to open those up here in just a minute because those are two of the most recent documents that the government has made available for requesting forgiveness for your PPP loans, okay? And we're going to talk about those in just a minute. But before we do, there's a few things that we want to make absolutely crystal clear right off the bat, okay? Folks, and we mentioned this in the last webinar event last week about this, is there's no need to be in a rush to fill out the loan forgiveness forms, okay? There is new guidance that's being issued on a regular basis from both the SBA and the IRS that is going to probably even change again in the coming weeks, okay? So, just like they had initially set up the 8-week period or 8-week window for the PPP loan periods, that wound up changing. and being expanded to 24 weeks, okay? The original form, which is the PPP loan forgiveness application, which has even, I think, been updated as recently as the 20th, like 3 days ago, the form 3508, that's the full expanded form, the fully expanded form. Even that has been changed recently. So again, there's no need to rush to get these applications in, okay, these applications for the forgiveness, all right? In fact, we're suggesting, even considering that, while they're accepting the forms, through the financial institutions and banks as soon as June 30th, that because of the changes in the documents and the legislation and more changes coming down the road, that they're going to be kind of relaxed about this initially, I think. Okay, we think, because if you submit it too early, they're going to submit it and then they're going to go, oh, well, we've got notification about new documentation, and they might make you resubmit the application again. So we're recommending that you're probably not even going to need to want to consider start submitting these forgiveness applications, certainly if you're within the 8-week covered period as opposed to 24, until probably at least the end of July and maybe even into August, okay? So please don't feel like you need to be in a rush to get these applications for forgiveness submitted, okay? New guidance and legislation is being handed down regularly, and we can probably expect more, okay? So some of the main points of the most recent legislation that we want to get across today on today's webinar, and again, we're recording this, so you're going to be able to revisit this later, is borrowers can choose to extend the 8 weeks to 24 weeks. And when I open the form here on either the easy forms or the regular 3508 form, I'm going to show you where that can be identified. 2, payroll expenditure requirements have dropped from 75% down to 60%. Okay? Again, just part of the new legislations that they've changed since the original legislation was handed down. Restoration, number 3, restoration of the level of the workforce can extend to December 31st from the original June 30th. Again, expanding from 8 weeks to 24. Okay? Number 4, there are 2 new exceptions for failing to restore the workforce levels, okay, pre-COVID-19 essentially, is guidance allowed employers to exclude employees who turn down rehire offers at the same rate and hours, okay? The new bill provides for adjustments if the church is unable to restore operations to February 15th levels due to COVID-19 related operating restrictions, or if it cannot find qualified employees, okay? So where this is possibly an issue, an example of where this may occur, is if your church has a daycare or a preschool, okay? That the daycare or preschool had to shut down based on state, ordered shutdown requirements, and you had to either furlough or let go or what have you, those daycare or employees or daycare or due to COVID-19, and those folks are not coming back, okay, where you may have a hard time finding folks to fill those qualified job positions, okay? And finally, number 5 is any amount that does not qualify for forgiveness, the payment term can be extended from 2 to 5 years if the bank and the church or the borrower agree, and the rate remains 1%, okay? Really important to understand. But, again, keep in mind with the 24-week, extending out to 24 weeks, our belief at this point is you probably, hopefully, shouldn't have to, there shouldn't be anything that should need to be repaid with that extended covered period, okay? So let's look at the forms now. So one of the things that we want to point out right now about this is that these forms that I have, give me just a second here, I'm trying to get my drawing tool here, there it is, okay, is that we've got one which is the fillable form, and we've got the regular. So the fillable is a PDF file that you can download, and you can fill that and print it and submit it. Okay, it's fillable, or it's just the plain form that you can print out and fill in by hand. Okay, so let's click on, say, the fillable form. So here it is, opening it in my PDF viewer. Okay. Let's erase that drawing here. So this is new. I mean, literally as recently as I think just the past 2 or 3 days, they've released this easy form. And if we see right up here at the top, it shows right here 3508EZ. And why that's easy is because it applies to certain types of borrowers with regards to PPP. Okay? All right? So the first and foremost, there's 2 things, and let me explain what those are. Is one, the borrower, it applies to borrowers that did not reduce the salaries or wages of their employees by more than 25% and did not reduce the number of hours of their employees, number one. Or, number 2, borrowers that experienced reductions in business activity as a result of health directives related to COVID-19. So again, example might be your state ordered the church to shut down, or maybe folks got sick. I mean, I'm just saying there could be any number of things that affect that, and did not reduce the salaries or wages of their employees by more than 25%. So essentially, you were paying your employees anyway, not less than 25% reduction, even though you were ordered to do so, or as a result of something that was a COVID-19 reduction. Okay? So this form would qualify, and how it's simpler is it's 1 page of instructions, it's 1 sheet of certifications, and 1 page of forgiveness information. Okay? It is literally as described. It is as simple as they are possibly making it at this point. Let me try to get back my drawing tool here and try to scroll down and see what we can find here. So here's our application. Here's the, what is this? This is the certification sheet, and with the and there's our demographic information or instructions on the last page. So 3 pages on this, okay? So it's as simple as they can possibly make it at this time. Maybe they'll find a way to make it simpler, maybe not. But again, it only applies to borrowers that meet those 2 conditions. Okay? Really, really important that that information be crystal clear with regards to that. All right? If you don't fall into those 2 particular groups, then you cannot use the 3508EZ. Okay? Let me go back a little bit here. I want to double check and double check. This kind of came at us kind of quickly. So I want to look and double check and look at the regular PPP loan forgiveness application. I'm not sure we've updated this one. Let me go down and look at the date stamp on it here. Should say, yeah, see, this is still the one. What I'm looking at, folks, here, and we're going to have to get the new one out here. I apologize for that. Is what I'm talking about is right down here, Form 3508 on May 20th. So there's a new one that we're going to have to get out here. We don't have it, so don't print this one from the website yet. We're going to get the new one out here on the website here sometime later today. Okay? So we're going to get the one that was dated June 20th out here just 3 days ago, a month later, as soon as humanly possible. Again, I apologize for that, okay, that we didn't get that updated yet. But it's new. But this is the one that is the full form that you may need to use if you didn't meet those other conditions to be qualified for using the EZ form, okay? So let's talk a little bit about that, okay? We've not spent a whole lot of time on previous events where it talks about documentation, qualifying events, things like that, okay? First of all, you need to retain the documentation for at least 6 years. Okay, so if the church took out a PPP loan, whether it needed to be repaid or not, or all of or part of it did, doesn't matter. You want to keep the records for at least 6 years. Okay, qualifying expenses include compensation for employees, including housing for clergy, for the ministers, group health care costs for employees, net of deductions for employees, and retirement benefits for employees, net of withholdings from employees, okay? Some of the eligible costs per employer are capped at $46,154 for 24-week covered period borrowers. Remains capped at $15,385 for 8-week covered employer borrowers. And what we mean by that, and one of the things that I guess I kind of alluded to at the beginning of the webinar event, was that the church can choose to extend the 8 weeks to 24. So what we mean by that is that if you initially took out the loan and agreed to an 8-week covered period on that, or 8-week coverage period, you can change that. And where you can do that is right here on the actual form. It's the True on the Easy form the same way. It says right here, covered period. So you would enter what you would originally entered. And if you wanted to extend that, you would do alternate covered period if applicable. If you said, oh, we needed to change our minds, we needed to change that, we want to extend that so we can try to take advantage of using as much of those resources and financial resources that the PPP offered us, okay, you can change that right there. It's not a checkbox. It's an actual date range that you entered, okay? So I think you would just enter that from whatever your start date of the period was through, say, December 31st, if you were going to extend that to the 24-week period from from June 30th. So the first one would be start date of the loan to June 30th, and then the alternate period would be start date of the loan through December 31st if you were changing that, okay? That's all I think you have to do with regards to it, all right? You don't have to do anything special. You can just enter those date ranges, and then they'll know that you're extending that, in addition to completing, of course, the rest of the period. So that's what that means is, if you change that from the 8-week period to 24, then those maximum incomes earnings are capped at a higher rate for the 24 period than for the 8-week period. Okay. Also, borrowers with loan before June 5th determines 8-week versus 24 weeks, indicating the covered period. So I guess basically what that means is that if your loan was from before June 4th, you have to tell the system what the covered period is going to be. It's, I think, assumed that if it's after June 5th, that it's automatically going to be for the 24-week period. New certification regarding FTE reduction, safe harbor related to operating instructions. Even further, FTE can either use the average number of hours per week divided by 40, rounded to the nearest tenth, or there is a simplified method that assigns number 1 for full-time employees and 0.5 to employees who are less than full-time. Or you can do the calculation. It's entirely up to you. Finally, documentation still required to be submitted, maintained, including FTEs at the January 1st and the end of the covered period. So in some cases, it could be the full year. Or if you're doing the 8-week period, it would be June 30th in that case. Okay? So Suzanne is confirming for me that anyone that is getting the loan after June 5th, you're automatically required to use the 24-week period. Okay? Good. Thank you, Suzanne. Appreciate that. So the new 5 pages going out after the webinar, also getting confirmation of that as well. Okay? So, all right, with about 10 or 12 minutes left, let's talk about a little bit about some documentation. So, as we had discussed, so if I close back out of the document there and I go back, this event down here, the one that we did last week on the PPP qualified expenses and documentation, that talks about the reports you'll run from both payroll and from accounting, depending on how you set up and tracked your PPP loan information in either accounting and or payroll, okay? So the documentation required would be things like payroll journals, spreadsheets, 941 reports that were filed, healthcare invoices, retirement remittances, that could include things like canceled checks or electronic reports of detailed remittances and bank statements, okay? So there's lots of things you can do to submit as qualifying documentation with the actual request, the loan forgiveness application that you're submitting, okay? So just be aware there's lots of things that you can submit to this, and if the financial institution isn't satisfied, they need to let you know, okay? Also, and it's not really covered in this, is, folks, that there's going to be, you're going to be able to submit disputes. So if you're disputing, if, say, a financial institution is disputing, qualifying event or information for you, you're going to be able to dispute that information with the bank. And I think you have a 60-day window with the bank to be able to try to resolve that. And if that's then not satisfied, then you've got a further 90-day window beyond that you can then take that up with the SBA. Again, so you're basically looking at a 5-month dispute window, essentially, that you can still, again, try to get some of this stuff forgiven if for some reason the bank then, disputes that for one reason or says that they won't write it off for whatever reason. So again, there's no hurry on getting some of this stuff both submitted and, repaid, because again, if you still think that you should have some of it forgiven or have it all forgiven, you're going to have the opportunity to take that up in a couple of different ways. Okay. So again, if you did not attend the actual qualified expense and documentation webinar event, please revisit that video. I'm talking about this one right here, this one. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see me draw on that drawing tool out there on that, the highlighter. Okay. So revisit that if you're unclear about how you need to run those reports. So finally, some other things that are qualifying as part of this, okay? We've talked about at length about eligible payroll costs for the employee, okay, per employee. But again, you've got utilities that are also qualifying to qualify for PPP expenses as well, okay? So utilities, of course, would be defined as electricity, gas, water, transportation, telephone, internet access for your service, okay, which began before February 15th. Garbage collection or security monitoring may qualify, but the church may want to check with the lender with regards to that, okay? But definitely things like electricity, water, gas, transportation, telephone, internet access for service definitely would qualify, okay? Yes, you'll still need to provide documentations, whether it's, billing information, invoice information that includes the ad service address, the time frame of the service, canceled checks, or electronic documentation of payments. Okay? Other additional qualifying expenses would be mortgage interest payments. So if the church has been paying mortgage interest over the course of the PPP loan period, again, that qualifies. Documentation would include things like mortgage statement breakdown of the amount of interest paid, the original loan documentation, okay, must be dated before February 15th, and documentation of payments on that, okay? And finally, lease payments. So documentation required for that would be the copy of the original lease, again, dated before February 15th, documentation of payments in whatever capacity. Payments to related parties are not addressed in the regulation, but check with your bank if you have questions or you think you have a situation where that may apply. Okay? So again, I just want to confirm that the 5-page document, the full 3508, we're going to put back out on our website, the updated one after the webinar event here has concluded. So please don't, if you don't qualify for the 33508 EZ form and you want the full 5-page loan forgiveness application, or you think you will, please don't download or print that until after give us an hour or two after the event is concluded to get that new form out there for you. Okay? All right. So with about 5 minutes left, that is the webinar topic for today.